From Eyewitness News, this is Newsmakers.
The budget proposal is out, and it includes a major headache for lawmakers: marijuana. Despite warnings from the Speaker and the Senate President that legalizing cannabis this year is a non-starter, Governor Gina Raimondo called their bluff and budgeted $20 million in revenue from state-owned pot shops. How will lawmakers balance the budget if they don't want to go that route? And can the Speaker and the Governor, who have had a chilly relationship from the start, find common ground? Our guest this week on Newsmakers, Rhode Island House Speaker Nicholas Mattiello. Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. Joining me on the program, Eyewitness News reporter Ted Nesi. House Speaker Nicholas Mattiello, it's good to have you back on the program.
Tim, pleasure to be here. It's been a while. I'm glad to be on.
And this won't surprise you. I want to start with the budget. And I know there are a lot of things that concern you about the governor's budget proposal based on your statement that you released on Thursday. You're not thrilled with it. So this show is going to be dominated by your concerns, I think. But I want to try and start on a positive note. Is there anything you like or you think your caucus can get behind in the budget proposal?
Well, I'm not going to talk about specifics of what's in the budget. My overall disclaimer is I haven't studied the budget. I heard the governor's state of the state. I had a briefing. I didn't get into the weeds in the budget, but I like the governor's priorities: education, job training, pre-K. Those are all very, very important priorities, and I share those with the governor. Where we part ways a little bit is how you accomplish that. So overall, the budget's going to be a challenge, and we're going to have to figure out ways to do important things for our community, but it's hard to commit to new spending when you are having a hard time maintaining you're already committed to spending. So those are challenges that we're going to have to look at.
I am going to try to get you to talk about specifics, and one of the things on my list, and I know it's not the biggest item in the budget, but my colleague Eli Sherman and I have been doing a lot of reporting on the Rhode Island Veterans Home, which is facing, as you know, currently a $2 million budget deficit. The governor's proposal calls for closing the gap by increasing what veterans pay to live there. Right now they pay 80%. Her proposal calls for 100%. But the administration says the residents' monthly allowance, if you will, they get $150 now, would go up to $300, and they wouldn't have to pay copay for physical therapy. So give more, get more is kind of the theory on that. Do you agree with it?
Why? If you're taking more, there's a reason you're taking more. You're not giving more. I don't believe that the government should be micromanaging the lives of our veterans. They fought for us. They risked their lives for us in many cases. They should be able to retire and live in that home with dignity. I see no reason to change the 80% in any way, shape, or form. They should be able to get their meals, eat with their family. That's all part of retiring with dignity, and we should make sure that they retire with dignity. What we have to do, and one of my overreaching frustrations and themes as we move forward with the budget, is looking at mismanagement. I remember that's a brand new home.
2017.
It's a brand new home. The federal government with committed resources. Thank you, Senator Reid, Senator Whitehouse. We have the benefit of a brand new home, and it's almost incomprehensible that we've mismanaged it that badly in that short a period of time.
Do you think General Backus should go?
I think that we should do an internal audit, a realistic one, and find out what went wrong, who's not paying attention, because clearly someone is not, and we should make changes there. Yes, we have to make changes, so that I will commit to. I mean, it's been mismanaged, it's a new home, there's no reason for it, and we are not going to put the pains of that mismanagement on the backs of our veterans. I will commit to that. So, and because it's such an important constituency, and people that have served us so hard at such great cost, I will tell them that you could rest assured that the General Assembly will remember your commitment and not do what is proposed in this budget.
Let's talk about the car tax phase out. It is, when fully phased in, it's quite a bit of money, $200+ million to end everyone's car tax bills and move that amount to the state budget. Leader Philippi was on the show last week and suggested perhaps it's better to pause it or something than raise other fees and taxes to lower the car tax. everyone knows how committed you are to this, but for you, in this year's budget, is there any wiggle room on the formula for phasing it out? The number of years, exactly how much goes away each year, or do you want exactly what's currently in statute to stay?
Let me start off by saying Leader Filippi's a friend. He's a smart.
Oh, we know where that's going.
No, he's a smart legislator. We work together very well, and we have a good working relationship. We have our disagreements, and this could be one of our disagreements. We have made a promise to our constituents, and we made it for a reason. This is very important to them. After making that promise, I don't believe it's appropriate to go back and say, we're rethinking it, we're going to stretch it out longer, because let's be very frank about it. After I'm no longer in the General Assembly, if this is not phased out, it's never going to happen. So I want it phased out. I want it completely phased out so that our constituents, our taxpayers, get the benefit of not having the most onerous car tax in the country anymore. Our local leaders have abused the car tax, and at the state we made a determination we're going to fix it. We did it collaboratively, unanimously. Everybody was behind it. It was driven by the public. We made that promise. We're going to keep that promise. And we went back on that promise once, way back when times became difficult. And we're going to keep this promise. In light of breaking this promise, well, at the same time that it's suggested we break this promise, there's all kinds of new spending. So that makes absolutely no sense to me. We will keep our promises to our taxpayers.
Costs do have to be cut, as you point out, and the car tax near and dear to you. The Rhode Island Promise Program is near and dear to the governor. That's that free college tuition program. It's one thing to stop its expansion, as happened last year, but are you willing to end it? This year's high school juniors won't be eligible for Rhode Island Promise if it's pulled from the budget this year. Are you willing to do that?
Yes, if it's appropriate. What I've said is it's a pilot program. When we created the pilot program, we indicated that a study would be due to us. I haven't seen the study, so yes, we're at the same point we were when we created the program. We're going to look at the study, look at the data, look at the evidence, and I hear conflicting reports. I hear good and bad coming out of CCRI, so let's look at...
But it could be on the chopping block.
Everything could be on the chopping block, and everything is up for consideration. That's up for consideration. There's a sunset on it. We're going to consider whether or not to remove the sunset, but we're going to do so thoughtfully after looking at the report. I suggest they get it to us as soon as possible. I haven't seen any real data from CCRI yet, and then we will make the determination that is appropriate, that was contemplated when we first passed the pilot program. And there's a lot of Rhode Island taxpayer money committed to it, so we have to make sure it's effective before we continue it. I think the taxpayers do that. We'll do our due diligence, and hopefully it's working out great.
You and Senate President Ruggiero have been pretty adamant, I'd say, marijuana is not being legalized recreationally in Rhode Island this year, and you don't see that your caucuses want to take that step. It is in the budget. Putting aside this year's proposal, you've said, you just said it again with car tax, you hope to be speaker for a number of years still. For you, is marijuana legalization off the table as long as you're speaker,
No.
or is it just this is not the year for it? I'm just curious your temperature on it.
This is not the year for it. I don't have a strong opinion on marijuana one way or another. The Senate President set the tone for that. I tend to agree with him. I know that we have workforce issues. I know that we have law enforcement issues. I know that they're having problems in Massachusetts. All I've suggested is a study is appropriate. Let's look at the benefit, the revenue obviously, and the social costs, the medical costs that go along with it, and let's do an analysis and then make a policy determination. The Senate President is pretty committed to not doing it. I don't believe my caucus is enthusiastic about doing that. So that's the perspective that I come from. I don't have a strong opinion on it. I like to look at things analytically and then make a determination. So that potentially could or could not be passed under my speakership.
This year aside, whatever, what do you think about the concept that was put forward in the budget proposal of, much like the New Hampshire liquor stores, which are state-run, having state-run pot shops?
It's interesting, and I think it's something that we should look at. It's a creative idea. One of my concerns is that the state doesn't run anything well right now. So, I mean, do we want to do that? The private sector seems to do it better than state government-run operations. But if you can get the right company in there under the right circumstances, that's something that is worthy of consideration.
Let's talk about medical marijuana.
Yeah.
You and Senate President Ruggiero have been in a little bit of a battle with Governor Raimondo over how this is all going to work with the expansion of the compassion centers. You know, the loudest unhappiness we hear at the moment is from the cultivators, the people who've gotten licenses to grow the marijuana. They, I think, seem to be expecting a big market when these new compassion centers come, and they say if they're going to grow their own, we're all going to go out of business. You told some reporters earlier this week there are just too many cultivators, but you also always say you're a pro-business speaker, you care about the business sector, and people did invest a lot of money in this once they got a license. I guess, how do you square, you know, what's your message to those cultivators who say, wait a minute, there were policies set out, we thought we were going to have a business, we thought we were going to have a market here?
Well, I think you also have to make smart business decisions when you're in business. Now, I feel for the cultivators, and I've always thought that there were too many of them way back when. I visited a lot of cultivators. Right now I'm actually not meeting with anyone to do with marijuana because it gets misconstrued, but I went to a lot of cultivation operations, and I scratched my head at every one of them saying, what are you doing? They were investing millions of dollars, and they will admit that they don't have a customer. The 3 compassion centers right now, and here's the big problem. You have 3 compassion centers. It's a monopoly. They will not buy from the cultivators unless they sell at cost, and they're not able to make a profit. So one of my concerns is that monopoly. It's a political, it's a financial monopoly. And I think that the other 6 should be simply treated the same way and create a real, true marketplace. A real marketplace will create competition. They're not all going to want to grow. That gives the cultivators the opportunity to be competitive, go to the new compassion centers, and suggest a relationship. It's expensive to grow marijuana, so a lot of them will take them up. But right now, under the governor's proposal, the 3 are the only 3 entities that can grow as much as they want.
The original 3.
Yeah, the original 3. So they're always going to be able to control the marketplace unless you change the formula and you create other entities that are on par with them, that can compete with them. And then I think there'll be competition for everybody that'll help the cultivators, and it'll bring the price down for our patients. So the General Assembly is looking to create competition for everybody. Right now, make no mistake about it, under the governor's regulations, we're protecting the 3 current compassion centers. And that's inappropriate. Government should not pick winners and losers. The marketplace should.
We have to go to a break in less than a minute, so I just want to quickly run through 3 quick budget proposal items. I don't want to spend a lot of time on them. The governor wants a line item veto, but not for herself, actually. She wants the bill, obviously, to have a shot, so she's calling for it to be implemented in 2023 after she leaves office.
It's still a political issue. It's a political win, so I applaud her for framing it like that. Still a bad idea. The governor has been abusing regulations, abusing process. She can't have total control of the budget. That's what that amendment would do.
Maybe if it's Governor Mattiello, you'll have a different opinion on that.
I would never.
Are you open to raising the minimum wage $1?
Yes.
Okay. And finally, just a small one, but the cigarette tax, once again, going up, and I think it's to a proposed $4.60 a pack. Seems like it happens every year. Will it again?
We reject it every year. It's bad policy, but it's one of the bad policy items in the budget, so we'll take a look at it and do what we can. I know we're going to hear from the convenience stores that are going to be very, very concerned. You're going to really decimate our convenience stores, particularly those at the border. So this is a dangerous policy, and hopefully we can do something to assist our businesses.
All right, we're going to take a break on the program. Our guest, obviously, is House Speaker Nicholas Mattiello. When we come back, we had the governor in the studio back in November, and she said something that might not sit too well with the speaker. We'll have that for you when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching Newsmakers. Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. To my left, eyewitness news reporter Ted Nesi. Our guest this week is House Speaker Nicholas Mattiello. Mr. Speaker, we'll get back to the $10.2 billion budget in a bit, but I do have to touch on this. As we reported on Wednesday, the Rhode Island Convention Center, which is owned by a quasi-public agency, was suddenly notified they're going to be the subject of a performance audit by the Auditor General, which works at the pleasure of the General Assembly. This comes as one of your friends, James Demers, who is a top official at the convention center, is in the middle of a personnel matter there. He's now on administrative leave. First, a procedural question. The letter we obtained says the Joint Committee on Legislative Services, JCLS, which is the administrative arm of the Assembly that you control, ordered the performance audit. We looked up the statute, and the law says, quote, the Auditor General shall have the power when requested by a majority of the committee to make post-audits and performance audits. Senate President Ruggiero, Senator Algier, and Minority Leader Filippi, all in the five-person committee, say they were not consulted, nor did they vote. Did you violate the statute by ordering the audit?
No.
How not? It seems like the law is pretty clear.
The it means the majority. It means JCLS. The JCLS committee has to operate by majority rule. Every decision JCLS operates out of majority rule. We always operate through the chairman, like every board across the country
We should
does.
point out you're the chairman.
I'm the chairman of the committee, so the speaker is always the chairman of the committee, and the Senate president is the vice chair of the committee with the other three members. So it always works through the chairman. We make decisions all of the time.
So by your definition,
we give discretion
you're
to
the
each
majority,
other.
just one person is the majority, based on what you're saying?
No, I'm saying the majority is the commission. The JCLS always, every decision it makes, whether it buys a pencil, is made by the majority of the committee. That's by definition. The committee, JCLS, works through the chairman, and we always work collaboratively. If the Senate President needs something reasonable, we work and he gets that done. If the Speaker, the Minority Leader, we always work collaboratively, always works through the chairman. Chairman can make those determinations. When you say majority of JCLS, that means JCLS. Every decision is a majority decision.
Okay, another question on this topic. Did you or anyone from your office or the JCLS discuss the Demers matter with anyone from the convention center, the authority, or its board?
I inquired of one person, and I was told that it was basically a personnel matter, and I had no other involvement with that.
And when you say you inquired of one person, do you mean Jim Demers?
I have had conversations with Jim Demers. I'll leave those private. Actually, I've advised them to just seek counsel. And I spoke to one other person, which it's a private conversation, so I'll leave private. I just simply inquired what was going on. And I was told it was a personnel matter, and I've had no other involvement.
Can you see why somebody might feel the House Speaker coming to talk to them about a personnel matter is pressure?
No, I inquire throughout government all the time about issues. Usually they're very innocuous. You learn something. If something was going on with Ted Nesi, I'd ask someone what's going on with Ted Nesi. Simple as that.
But there's a power
and a lot of these. When that happened, I ran into someone in the hallway. So, by the way, what's going on? Nothing particularly unusual.
And can you tell us who you talked to?
No, it's a private conversation.
You've said, talking about this audit, that information was received by either you personally or people in your circle.
The audit's different, and this is important, so I'd like to point it out. Within the last 2 months, long before this situation, I received information that our costs there are too high. We can't bring concerts in because our costs are too high. So I just filed it away in the back of my mind somewhere. And then I received additional information which was a little more concerning, and I have no idea whether it's true or not, so I'm not going to say what it was, because it may not be true. Let's give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I looked at their past auditing and the law regarding the auditing. They don't get looked at. They get looked at very cursory. It does nothing that resembles an audit, and the responsibility is on the administration to make a determination. This is for all quasis, to make a determination of whether or not an audit should be made. Well, they never do. They haven't had an audit, and I have no idea how long. So They're running their own little fiefdom, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. It's a self-contained operation, but there's a ton of taxpayer money down there. So I made the determination that we'll look at it. I'm also, this session, looking at the general law that we have to have our quasis be responsible. So all of our quasis should be subject to audit in whatever period of time. I don't know, X number of years, whatever is appropriate, and I'll let the experts determine what's appropriate. But of all of our quasis have to go through a periodic auditing system. You know, the common theme here is mismanagement in our departments, lack of oversight. Look at the Veterans Hall, just absolute lack of oversight, and these operations are running themselves with no responsibility to anybody. I'm concerned that this is not going on at our quasis. Now, they have more money to bury the boulders with, so perhaps there are boulders that we just can't see, and perhaps they're running perfectly fine operations. But I think we'd do an audit. I think that's appropriate in light of the fact of the, and by the way, the Republicans, then I also recall that the Republicans were claiming that there was terrible mismanagement. So I'm receiving information from two separate sources. I recalled.
I can't remember the last time you took advice from the Republican Party to do something, honestly.
Well, I regret that we didn't give it better consideration back then. Right now, it wouldn't be an issue. So they have concerns. I then receive information from two different places. I know the costs are high. I know we can't bring in concerts.
Well, the Dunk turned a profit. Well, they had John Legend, John Mayer, Fish, Michael Bublé this summer. I mean, anecdotally, obviously, it looks like they are bringing in concerts.
They may be bringing in some more. And you know, so I don't know. Let's look at it. And in fact, they might be running a great operation. I'm not suggesting they're not. I'm suggesting when I heard information, thought back to and by the way, the information I heard was close to what the Republicans were previously saying. And Minority Leader Patricia Morgan at the time was demanding an audit. I regret that we didn't listen back then. And you take it all together, I think it's irresponsible not to do anything. So sometimes leadership just calls on people to make responsible decisions, and I'm stuck in that position.
I want to move on, and I want to play a little quote sound from you. As I teased in the first half, we had the governor on the show in November. She has continued to raise money for her campaign, but as you know, term limited. So Ted and I asked her why, what she plans to do with those funds, and here's what she had to say.
I'll have a legislative agenda that I would like to get passed. All the legislators are on the ballot next year. I may decide to support or oppose legislators that I think are doing the right thing or holding Rhode Island back.
All right, so
what was the reaction to that comment among lawmakers?
They weren't happy. They weren't happy. It's not a way to start a productive conversation. You know, and I'll know. It's a little distasteful probably. When she was running and she wanted the endorsement of the party endorsed her and everybody supported her, and you know, you should not play that kind of politics with legislative business. I mean, everybody's entitled to their judgment. We're entitled to a fair debate, and we all win some and we all lose some, and that's the nature of things. Reasonable minds can differ. I thought it was inappropriate. I wish she didn't say that. And I certainly wish she didn't think that.
Even more, at least you know it now. Quickly, I just want to let you elaborate on something. The other night you were at the Boston Globe's event, and you made a comment that blew up on social media about suggesting, as you think about the governor's 100% renewables proposal, Rhode Island's so small, how much can the state really do about climate change? I don't think anyone would argue it matters a lot more what China does than Rhode Island. But to be clear, do you think there's any place for Rhode Island to take any steps to address climate change?
We have 1 minute left.
All right. Absolutely. And we have been taking the steps under my leadership. And while I've been at the General Assembly, we're one of the greenest states in the country. As far as I know, we have the largest offshore wind farm. I was part of that process. We've enabled wind and solar, and it's growing. So yes, there's a place. I was just talking, practically speaking, we're a small state, and it's most effective if done at the national level.
All right, and let me just check off this box. It's an even-numbered year. are you running again for re-election in your district in Cranston?
I am. I rented a campaign headquarters. My sign recently went up. You're welcome to come over and visit us. You can volunteer if you'd like.
Envelopes, Mr.
Yeah,
Speaker.
we're not allowed to do that. All right, Mr. Speaker, thank you for joining us on the program. And as we end the show, Ted and I would like to bid farewell to a longtime producer here at WPRI, Darren Soanes. He's been here, I think, for more than 20 years, and most recently, he has been the glue that has held the Target 12 team together. Darren is going on to teach, which I can tell you he'll be very good at because we have learned a lot from him. Darren Soanes, good luck to you. If you missed any of this program, it's online, WPRI.com. Don't forget our podcast through iTunes. We'll see you next week on Newsmakers.